Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to another Shields Live. Again, thank you for joining us. As always, we greatly appreciate seeing you all here. Today, we're going to work on. We could have done this a couple weeks ago on some of our favorite things that we sell here. Jan's going to talk about the blue tiles by from Kimberbell. Basically, we get kind of spoiled because we have the opportunity with the cameras and some of the features with the bigger machines that we don't need to use those. However, they are pretty slick, and and again, it's a little more in depth demo with that. So it wasn't like we could just do it, show you on that our favorite things. But again, today's kind of gloomy, so why not be inside hanging out with us? I think it's starting to lighten up a little bit, but still it's been raining all day. But again, thank you for joining us. Really, really appreciate the likes, comments, shares. I think we'll do another drawing next week. So after today, go ahead and share, like, and comment, and we'll put it in a drawing and we'll give away some free stuff. So I will turn it over to Jan, and I will come back at the end, assuming I'm not too busy. So enjoy it, and we'll see you in a bit.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so I've been wanting to talk about the clear blue tiles that I have to say, I'm just going to admit it. I have been resisting these a little bit. Let me turn off my little banner here just a second. And I started working with them a couple of weeks ago when I was starting to do, hi everybody, when I was starting to work on doing some table toppers. And they're Kimberbell table toppers. And I thought, well, these would be a really good way to quilt these. And I'm getting the hang of them now. And they really are cool. So I kind of wanted to show you, we're going to just do some couple of simple basic things. The clear blue tiles, they come in, there's two sets of them. This is the essential set, which is the basic set that you need to get started. Has a lot of really nice designs in it. There's like winter, spring, summer, and fall designs, and then there's a swirl and a loop design, and there's all the different sizes, and also there's the block by block versions. So like we've done some of those on Sew Along with Jan, that we've done block by block designs, like with the pillows and that kind of stuff. You do the design, the quilting, and then the design on top, and then you sew it together. And then they also give you the clear blue tiles. So the thing with clear blue tiles, what they do is that they allow you to mark your quilt, to quilt through all the layers. And that's the way I prefer to quilt, is I'd like to quilt through all the layers instead of like quilting and then putting the back on. And so I kind of was resisting these, because there's the one thing I don't like to do is I don't like to put a lot of marks on my quilt. So I've been playing with that also. So I have some little tips for that. And I found a way that I'm working better with that option also. And so that it's just easier for me. So I wanted to show you what's in the Clear Blue Tiles Essential Set. So you do need to get this one, okay? And this one has, let me open this up here. The book. Here's the book with all the instructions in it. You've never heard of these. These are really cool. These are from Kimberbell, Barb. And if you like to quilt in your embroidery machine, this is the way to, this works very well. There's other things that work well too, and the edge-to-edge quilting. The thing that's neat about these quilting designs when you do like edge-to-edge with them is that they don't have a start and a stop point, so you don't have to try to get the end points lined up with the start point. These appear seamless, but they are actually they're not connected in any way. They appear seamless though, so it's really cool. I think and I really like the designs. They're just really nice, and I'll show you a couple of my samples that I've got done. So inside this box, okay, is your tiles. And there's a couple of, I'm going to use this one. So this is a 4x4. I'm going to use this one today. So I'm going to pull this one out real quick. And then the other things that are in here are the slap bands. And these are for, if you've got a bigger quilt, you can put these around the edges of it and kind of roll it up to keep them out of your way. I won't be using those today because the stuff I've got is small. And then there's a couple of marking pens. Well, the marking pens were one of my little problems. So we're going to talk about marking pens here in a minute. And then there's a USB stick in here with all the designs on there. And I've got that one of those in my machine right now. But I wanted to show you, this is the tiles. So they just put one out on the front where you can see it. And I'm actually going to use this one today. But there's 2 packets of tiles in here. And there's one that's called finished block tiles. And then there's some that are called finished border tiles. So this packet is for like doing your borders and your sashings. And so they're all going to be kind of, long and narrower, like for your borders and sashings. Okay, so there is 2 different sets of tiles in here. Okay, so these are the ones for the borders. And they start at 1 inch. And I'll show you one of the other 1 inch ones. I've got one out here. And then this is the finished block tiles. And there's all different sizes. Now, the essential set is the set that you need to get started. And it works for the machines with up to a 8 by 12 hoop. Okay. There is an expansion pack that works for people that have the 9.5 by 14s. Technically, it says that there's 8 by 12 blocks, but the designs are just a little too big for our 8 by 12 hoops. So if you only have an 8 by machine with the largest hoop as being 8 by 12, like for instance, Barb, I know you have a Quattro, you would want the essential set because those would be the biggest ones you would be able to use. Okay. The people that have 9.5 by 14s and larger hoops can use the expansion pack. So that's the other pack that's here. And these have the longer and bigger blocks for like the 8 by 12 and 9.5 by 14 size. Okay. So depending on the machine you have, most of the machines you will have use the essential set. And then if you have the bigger ones, then you can get the expansion pack so you can go up to these bigger ones. This is just the tiles. The essential set has the CD or the USB, I should say, with all the sizes on it. Okay, so all of the sizes for the designs are on there. The other thing that's in here, and I printed out the book a little bit and bound it on my little binding machine. There is this really nice set of table toppers in here, and they're 4 seasons table toppers. And then all of the blocks with the little houses and the trees are pieced in the hoop. So I thought that was cool. And then you sew them together, and then you quilt them with the clear blue tiles. So clear blue tiles. So hopefully that kind of gives you a little overview of what's in the box, what you need. So like I said, for people who have a, got to make sure I got all my pieces here so I don't lose anything. Oh, here it is. People who have the smaller machines, and even if you have just a little small machine, like a 5x7 machine, you can still use these. There's a lot of tiles you can use. But if you have a 8 by 12 on down, you want the essential set only. And if you have a 9.5 by 14 on up, then you can go with the expansion pack also. Okay. So what's cool about clear blue tiles is you can quilt a couple of different ways. You can quilt, keep my book out here in case I need to show you something. You can quilt with custom quilting. So like if you want to quilt each block separately and do different things in each block and in each border and each sashing, or you can use them for overall quilting. And so I'm going to show you a little example today of each one and then how you would hoop them. And then a couple of different hooping options depending on the size or the types of machines you have. So you can hoop them traditionally and you can use magnetic hoops. And I like my snowman. Okay. And then I'm also going to talk to you about marking, because the marking was the reason I had been resisting them, because I don't like to mark my quilts, but now I know better how to mark them and they work very well this way. Okay. So I found a little solution that worked out well for me. Okay. Well, let me show you a couple samples first. So I'm going to switch the camera over here. Give me a second. and we will do a little bit of sewing. So I've actually been really enjoying learning to use these. I've really been working with them for the last couple weeks, and I've done a couple of cute little samples. So let me get my camera pushed up here, and then I'll bring a sample out so you can see it. Okay, and then we'll do a little hooping, and I'll show you how we're going to use these. Now, one of these, I thought I was going to get it done last night, but I had my COVID booster, and I was a little bit punchy yesterday, so I didn't get one of my samples completely done. So this was the first one I did with my clear blue tiles. And this is a Kimberbell Cutie table topper. Okay, so what I did is I pieced the whole top, and then I quilted it. You know, I sandwiched it with the batting and the backing, and then I quilted with the clear blue tiles, and then I did the embroidery through it. Okay, so these were a traditional quilting designs, and not really embroidery designs. They were kind of made into embroidery. So this is going to be Kimberbell Club next year. Starting in January, we're going to start making these little table toppers every month. And I quilted this with the swirls. So let me see if you can see the quilting a little bit. If I hold it a little closer, maybe on the red. Okay, so there's the little swirl design. This is one of the ones that's on the clear blue tiles. Okay, it's really cute. I did kind of a light pink thread. And this is the book and CD that you need to do this. So this is the book that has all the instructions in it for the table toppers and all the, fabric instructions. And then this is the CD that has the embroidery designs for the corners. Otherwise, they're traditional machine applique that you would drive around your appliques yourself. I like to do it with my embroidery machine. Okay, so we're going to teach it with the embroidery version. Okay, so I'm going to show you that. So that's one of them I did. Now, I have also learned a lot of things about these, and I'll talk about this when we get going a little bit. I learned a couple things to do and not to do. So I learned something not to do with this table topper, but it still looks just fine. Okay, and this is that 8x12 clear blue tile that I used to quilt this one. Okay, and I also used it to do this one. So this one I used, and I haven't got my embroidery done on the corners. This is the January one. And maybe if I hold it up, you can see it on, can you see it on the blue? Okay, this is the winter one. It has all those cute little winter snowflakes on it. And really cute designs. So if I turn it over on the back, I bet you can see it better on the black. Let me hold it up a little bit. Can you see all the pretty? I just think all their designs are just adorable, and they're so whimsical and fun, and they have a lot of designs. Now you can use the clear blue tiles with all of their quilting designs up on their website. They have a lot, and I have a lot of their designs, and you can use any of them for quilting with the clear blue tiles. Okay, so there's a couple of samples, and I'll tell you my little things that I found out not to do in a little bit. Okay, so let's look at, I'm going to set that one aside, and let's get our design up, and I'm going to bring a little sample over here, and we're going to try a little custom quilting sample first. Okay, and I want to go onto my stick, and I know that my little squares on my little quilt, this is how you do this. Find my little quilt here. Show you a couple of other tiles too. I'm going to lay my little quilt over here. Okay, so here's my little quilt, and I made this with some little blocks on it. Okay, now I know these blocks are they finish 4x4, and so I could do this lots of different ways. So let's say I have a large machine, and I could quilt this with 4 8x8 hoopings, because I've got this one. So see, it would be 4 8x8 hoopings. Well, that would be easy, wouldn't it? Okay. Now I'm not going to use my big hoop today. I wanted to show you that you can do this with a small hoop. Okay, so obviously when you have a smaller hoop, you're going to have to hoop more times, and that's fine. but you can still get the same results. The designs are scaled so that they are the same size, no matter what size grid you use or what size design. So they're all in the same scale. Okay. So let's say I don't have an 8x8 hoop, but I have a 5x7 hoop. Well, there's a 4x4. Look at this. There's a 4x4 tile. Or let's say I only have a 4x4 machine. Well, there's a 2x2 file, and I could even quilt this in 4 sections on each block in a 2x2 with my little itty bitty 4x4 machine. So you can see these are pretty versatile. Even if you have smaller machines, there's a lot of ways you can quilt. And yes, you would have to hoop it more, but it is still very, very doable. Okay. The other one I wanted to show you with this one, see, I put some borders out here. And here's one of the clear blue tile border tiles. And they would lay on the borders, and then I would mark them, and I would use the border design that is this was a 1x10 on this one. So I used like a 6x10 hoop for this one. Okay. So that's how you know what size of design to use, because it tells you what size your finished border is. So 1x10, and that's the design I use. So let's look at this one. Let's just do a simple hooping here. I'm not going to use these tiles. I'll set these aside. And we're going to use this 4x4. So this is 4x4. It says 4x4 finished block. Okay. And I'm just going to pick one of these. Let's pick one of the white ones. I'm going to take the pin out. Now, I pin based. You can spray based if you want. I'm not a big hand to use spray based. I like to pin base, so I usually do. So this little block, that little template there just goes right in that block. Now, this is the one thing that I was having a little trouble doing, is I was having a little trouble with the marking pens. The marking pens that come with these are those blue water-soluble ones, and I have a hard time getting them out of everything, and I've never really liked the blue marking pens. So I tried the air marking pens, and they come out so fast that I can't get my quilt done before the marks are gone. So I've also tried the Frixion pens, which are the heat away ones. I've always had a little trouble with those with light colored fabrics, because sometimes they will leave a little bit of a mark. So I tried some new ones that I got the other day, and these are called heat vanishing pens. These are all heat vanishing. And they have 5 colors in the pack. You get black, white, green, red, and blue. Okay. Boy, I tell you what, these things work really well. They roll better on the fabric. The tips roll really nice. And I got the 5 colors, so that most of the colors, will work with whatever kind of fabric I'm using, because there's also white. And these do not leave any residue when you hit them with the iron. Sometimes with the Frixion pen, I will have like a brown spot or a white spot, like on dark colors. I'll have a white spot, and I'll have a brown spot on my white. This one I've tried it on several fabrics, and I haven't had any trouble with that. So that's good. And I kind of like these pens. So I've got these up on our website now. Nifty Notions Heat Vanishing Pens. So these are up on our website now. Okay. And also the Clear Blue Tiles. So on ShieldSewingCenter.com, the Clear Blue Tiles Essential Set and Expansion Set are both up there. Okay. So I want to custom quilt this particular little quilt. Okay. I'm going to take my 4x4 tile, because I have a 5x7. Let's say I only have a 5x7 hoop, and I'm going to take that. I'm going to fit it right inside that little square. Fits perfectly. Now, this is where you're going to do some marking, and I do some minimal marking. I like to try to keep the marking down as little as possible. So I'm going to just mark the center here. There's a little center dot in here. I'm going to go over here to the right and left, okay, and down, and then up, okay. So I have a mark in the center, because that's going to help me hoop this. There's also marks on the top and the bottom, and I'll show you that in the next example. If you're going to do an overall pattern, you really need to mark the corners and the sides and the top and the bottom. because then you can get them lined up correctly so that they line up nicely. Now these though are actually going to be I would use the same size in each block, so it made it really easy. So I'm not going to mark all that extra stuff. I also, instead of marking the arrows, that's one less mark on my quilt, I just marked top up there with my Frixion pen, or not my Frixion pen, but my heat vanishing pen. I just marked it up there so I always know that's the top. So that means my arrow on my grid goes up, okay? So I don't mark everything on my quilt. I'm trying to keep it down as much as possible. Okay. So I've got my mark on here from my little grid. You probably can't see it too well. I'm a little high, so I think you can see it. It's blue. I got a blue pen. Second, my pen's on a little loose there. Now I'm going to find my hoop wherever I put it. Now, this is a traditional hooping. So let's say you have a smaller machine, and I'm going to show you how to do this 2 different ways because I've been playing around with this. Now, this is the old-fashioned way. So some of us have machines with some cameras and all that, and I'll show you how to use that too in the next one. But, if you have a smaller machine, you don't have all those cameras and everything, and this is how you hoop. So you got to have your plastic grid. So those of you who don't know where your plastic grids are, if you need to use these, you need to go find them because these are very important because this is the center of the hoop, okay? I'm going to lay that down on those center marks that I made. And again, you may not need to use this grid if you have a camera. And I use the camera a lot. And I am going to have to take a couple of pins out here. Give me a second. And take a couple of these out. That's the only thing about using pins, that sometimes they're in the way. So I have to take a few out and then put them back in. But I don't like the spray stuff. Okay. And I'm going to lay that right down on my mark. Now, the one thing I forgot to bring with me today, and it's in my chest that's locked. I usually, and this is not a very big hoop, so I'm okay with this, but what I usually do is I've got double-sided sticky tape, which is also on the website, and it's from Clover, and I put 2 pieces of sticky tape right here and right here that holds this in place for me when I get ready to hoop, because then it won't move. And I forgot to get it out of my chest, and I have to go get keys to get it. So we're not gonna get that out today. This is small enough I can usually hold it. Okay, so now we got that. I got that lined up. I'm going to take the bottom part of my hoop and I'm going to unscrew this so that it's loose. Okay, let's slide this over here on the table, and I'm going to pick up my quilt and try to keep the top of my hoop fairly lined up. And I'm just going to bring this over and I'm going to drop this down into, oops, second here, I got my hand stuck into this. So now I'm a little high, so I need to pull this down just a little bit. And I'm trying to keep my lines all lined up that I marked. Okay. And it works really well with the tape on the back of the hoop, especially if you're using a bigger one. So I would highly recommend that. I usually just put the tape on like this side and this side, and you can put it on top and the bottom with the big ones. And then it holds your loop, the inside loop, still on your fabric so it doesn't move. And I usually use that, but I forgot to get it out today. But this one's pretty small. So there's my design. I think I'm pretty close. Looks pretty straight. I'm going to reach underneath here. And we're going to tighten this up. I got to make sure that the corners are down. Push the corners down. Okay, tighten this up. And I think I'm pretty good, so I'm going to be happy with that. Okay, so again, this is the traditional method of doing this. So now I'm going to bring this over and put it in my machine, and then I'm going to bring it, let me move the camera here. Okay. So this would be a custom quilting. I would do this for a custom quilt. Maybe you do block by block. You could do it, several blocks at a time, depending on the hoop size. Okay, so let's go to our USB. I got it in my machine. And I'm going to go to the PES files. And let's use the swirls. I want to do summer swirls. Here we go. Now you have two options on the CD. Again, I told you that you could do block by block. The difference between the block by block designs and the clear blue tile designs is the block by block designs have the batting placement and tack down lines in them. So you put the batting in and then put your backing on afterwards. This is a quilt sandwich with backing on it. So the clear blue tiles are just the decorative design, quilting design. There's no batting lines in them. So I'm going to click clear blue tiles. And this was a 4x4 tile. So we're going to go look for the 4x4. They're all marked by the size in here. And I'm going to find the 4x4 tile. Got to find it. Let's see. 4x12, 4x10, 4x8. Oh, here it is. 4x4 right here. So we're going to pick that one. And I'm going to click set. Okay. I like that one. We're going to hit embroidery. Now, let me bring this over here. So we're doing this as if you had no other options but to use your grid. So what I'm going to do is push this all the way up. Okay. And I have my mark on my fabric right here. And I am going to, let's pretend that we have just a small machine with no camera or anything. I'm going to take the thread out of the needle. This is how I always have done this. I'm going to drop my needle down and see if I'm right on my middle hole. And it's perfectly right on my middle dot that I made on that grid. Okay, so I'm happy with that. So I'm just going to leave it there. If I needed to, I could move it slightly side to side or up and down if I needed to move it. I think I'm pretty good though. Okay, and if you have a laser light on your machine, even the smaller machines have laser lights now. You can touch the little W foot, and you can also check to see if I'm not sure if you're gonna be able to see it too well, but it's right here. If your needle is going to drop right down on that little middle polka dot, okay, with the laser light. So that's another way of checking your placement without having a scanning camera, okay? So we'll use the scanning camera or the snowman in the next example. Okay, this machine is the Luminaire, so this one has that, but you don't need to use it. I could just easily hoop this together, okay? And I hooped it in a regular hoop, and I just used my grid to help me. And this is the way we've hooped for years and years, is with these grids, and they work quite well. But I do love those cameras because it makes it so much faster and you don't have to use the grid. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, and I think I'm ready to sew this. Got it all in here the way I want it. This is my block, and I would do each block this way, or you could use the swirls, you could use the summer one, you could alternate them so that they were different ones and different blocks. So you can do anything you want, and there's tons of other designs on their website, and we have an affiliate link so that you can click through our affiliate link, and then Shield Sewing Center gets a reward every time you buy designs from the Kimberbell website through our affiliate link. Okay, so let's watch this sew. This is going to be really cute. This is going to be that little swirl design. Let's sew this one out. And these appear seamless, but they actually don't have, they don't start and stop. But they'll appear seamless when you do them, even block by block. So this is that really cute little, and after I do this, then I'm going to show you what I learned last weekend, okay? Because I used this design on my February table topper here. And then I'll show you the difference when I get this sewn out. This is turning out really cute. I thought I'd do orange thread on the lighter colored blocks, and then we could do maybe brown on the darker ones so they'd show up. But I wanted to show you don't need a very big hoop to quilt. You can quilt in this 5x7 hoop real easy. If you have a 6x10 hoop, you can use almost every single, I think you can use every single template in the essentials box. So if you have as small as a 6x10 hoop, you can use everything in that essentials box. Okay, so here's our first block. We've got it done. This was the loops pattern. Okay, So here's, isn't that cute? And then I could move on to the next block. So this was kind of one in the middle. And then I could move on to the next block. And if I wanted to use the same design, I could, or I could use a different design, and they all blend in together, and they're all at the same scale. Okay. So when they told me they were all at the same scale, that meant something to me. But then I didn't realize what it meant when it came to the designs. So let me show you the difference. So let's see if you can see this. So this is one thing I learned with the designs. I don't know if you can see. Can you see this on the red? Now, can you see the length of the stitches on these? And this is the same pattern, and they appear to be roughly the same scale, right? Because this is a bigger design. This was done with the 8x12. Okay, so there's the table topper. Here is the block I just did. Can you see the stitches? So what I have learned is that these designs should not be sized. Because when I did this, I only had, and I hooped this whole thing traditionally, just like I just showed you, this whole one. I did not realize that when I resized these designs, because I had my smaller machine at home, because my bigger one was down seeing Ron for a spa day. When I resized these designs to make them show up in my machine with only a 8x12 hoop, it changed the stitch length. So I'm just telling you right from the start, do not try to resize these designs, because then you lose the scale that they have them set to, so that they all go together and they're all in the same scale. So I learned that the hard way. This still looks just fine. Okay, so I'm not going to redo it, but I wanted to keep it as a sample for something not to do. Don't try to resize these designs, because they don't seem to resize well, because they were scaled to a certain scale. Okay, so that is one way you can use it, is by doing custom quilting. So like if I wanted to do the next block, I could use maybe the summer block, since this is a little woodland, or fall, and it's more fall colors. So there's little acorns. So maybe I could use the fall ones, and in the next block I could use one of the fall designs, and then I could alternate the designs with this, and then I would do my border, which with either a fall or a swirl one. So then I could custom quilt this, and it would all be different, and it would be custom quilted and all be at the same scale. So isn't that cool? I mean, I really like these. I've really been having fun learning about them, because it's amazing what all I can do with them. Okay, so are there any questions about that's one of the things you can do, is custom quilting. So in the book, they talk about that also. Watching the time so we can do the next one. It also talks about your hoops and knowing what sizes can be done in your hoops. But in here, it talks about the repeated all over quilting, or like edge to edge quilting. And then what we just did would be custom all over quilting. So you can see on this example here, this is one of their table toppers that's in this also. This is the only way to get the pattern for these, is in this essentials pack. So like here is that same design that we just used. Okay. And there's different sizes that they used in there. And then they use different ones for the borders, and different little small blocks for the corners. Okay. So that's more of a custom look. You can kind of change what you're using for the designs and do block by block. So I kind of call it block by block. Do you use bobbin thread or some other weight thread? Oh, Colleen, so what I was using was, I'm using generally when I quilt, I use my Pima cotton thread in the needle and in the bobbin. You can also use embroidery thread. The first one I did with embroidery thread. So either whatever works. I usually match my bobbin thread to my upper thread. Can you use the border hoop with these? Yes, you can, Margaret, but it would need to be the smaller, narrower border parts. So like if you were doing this border, yes, I might get my old border hoop out and use my border hoop for these, because I love those border hoops. And yes, I probably would use it for these little narrow ones. That hoop was quite narrow, so you can only use it for up to about a 4-inch border. So yeah, that would work just fine. And it also has a grid if you need a grid, but in your case, you have a snowman on your machine. So I'm going to show you the snowman way of doing this next. And that's usually how I do this, because then I can mark very, very little. As I said, I like the minimal marking on these. So I can use my, I use my snowman when I do this. So obviously we can do this traditionally, like I just did with my template and my, so next I'm going to show you, that was the custom all over quilting. And then the next thing I'm going to show you is what they call repeated all over quilting. So that's what I'm going to do on my little, I got like a little tabletopper kind of thing. And I'll show you something else that I learned. So like I said, I learned a couple things this weekend. Don't try to resize the designs. So, because then the scale is compromised and they don't sew out as nice. And the other thing I learned, I've always struggled with this because I've been doing edge to edge quilting for some time. I'm going to change my thread. I'm going to have some pink thread here for this one. I also learned that I've always struggled with the edges. So some of you I know have done like edge to edge quilting in the embroidery machine. And you know, when you get to the edges, it's really hard to keep your foot from going underneath and catching on the fabric. Okay. And so I've always wondered, how can I take care of that? And I've tried all kinds of things. Now in the book, they tell you to use tape. Well, I tried the tape and I had the same problem I've always had with tape, is that the foot goes under the tape also. And so that didn't work out for me. And so what I thought, all of a sudden it dawned on me over the weekend, oh, well, why don't I just zigzag the edge down? And I think this will work quite well when you are doing smaller pieces. If you're using a larger quilt, it may not work as well because you don't want it to get, you know, you kind of have to work from the inside out when you're quilting. So if you get too big of a piece, you might have a little trouble with folding on the edge if you zigzag it. But what I did with this one, since it's a smaller piece, I pin basted everything down and pressed it down so it was nice and flat. And then I just took my sewing machine and zigzagged on the edge. So now I don't have to worry about anything getting stuck. I can even turn my head away and it'll be fine. Okay, so I don't know why I hadn't thought about that earlier, but it does really work for these smaller things. Okay, a quilt, probably what I would do is I would quilt part of it, and then when I got out towards the edge, I'd probably zigzag it right before I did like the outside edges, so that I didn't have any folding or anything going on the edges. But that works really well. And it was just worth it to me to take that little bit of extra time. Okay, so let's do a little overall quilting. These are so fun. So this one, I'm going to show you too. These work great with magnetic hoops. So this one here is my little, again, I marked the top up here. Okay, so I don't have to mark all those marks on my quilt. And this one I'm going to do in a 6x10 with a 6x10 template. Now, the 6x10 template is, you can get the design in your 6x10 hoop. I often go up a size on my hoop just so that I don't have to be quite so careful when I'm hooping. So I am going to use an 8x12 hoop. It will fit in the 6x10. But since I'm kind of lazy and I don't want to have to work so hard, I am going to use my 8x12. So what I did is I want this to be an overall pattern. I marked where the center of my little fabric is right here. I marked this. And then I also marked where the center is up here so I could find it. And then I'm going to start in the center of my quilt, marking it with my clear blue tiles. So I'm going to mark this one all at the same time. They give you a little box right here if you want to mark what size it is. But I normally I pick a tile that I can use the same tile for the whole thing. And then I don't have to mark that size in. Sometimes if you have to change your size, you might have to. So I'm just going to mark this, but I'm not going to make any more marks than is necessary because I'm going to use my snowman. And I'm having a little trouble because I got a pin under there. Sorry. Okay. So I'm going to mark this. That's the first one. Okay. Then On these, though, I want to mark some other marks on them. See if I can get it lined back up again. Sorry. Can't quite reach with this camera here. This is when I want to use my side markings and my corners, because I need to be able to get the other, I'm going to mark along the corners here and in the center over here, because then I know that I've got everything lined up. Now I'm off the batting up here, so I'm not going to mark up there because I can line it up over here. So unless we got that one done, and then I'm going to move it over so that I'm going to mark over here. I'm going to do the same thing. Line up, I made that little mark right here and on this corner to help me. And then I'm going to mark my center and my cross here. Okay. And then I'm going to move over here. Oops, I think I'm going to better mark my bottom here because I have to line up the bottom one too. So let's do that. We'll mark this down here. We'll mark the corner. Oops. I think I'm going to go get my blue pen. My red one's not showing up too well on this. Sometimes it depends on the color you're using. I sometimes have to change my pen. Let's get a darker pen here. Where'd my blue one go? It's probably underneath here. I can't find it right now. Let's try black. How about black? So I can see it a little bit better. There we go. I can see that. All right, so I think we're okay with that. See, I don't think I can see my center. Let me get my arm out from underneath the camera here. Let's try this with the black one. Maybe I can see it better. There we go. All right. Then I'm going to go down here to the center. Okay. I'm going to mark. Here's my marks for the corners. I'm going to line those up, and the mark here for the center. Line those up, and then I'm going to do the same thing down here. I'm going to mark the center, and you can see I'm not marking all the way out because I don't need to with my snowman, but I do want to mark these side panels and the corners so that I can line up the next one. Okay, and then we're going to go over here. There's the corner and the side piece, the little side one down here. And then I'm going to mark the center of this one. This one's going to be hard because I've got some black in here, so it's a little hard to see. Okay. That looks pretty good. And then I'm going to go over here and let's see. Here's our corner here. The corner and then center, little center mark there. So that's what those marks are for, is to help you line these up. So my other one's right here. And then I'm going to go up this one, get my center dot. Okay, and then like that. So I marked the whole thing, okay, with my tile. Now this one, I'm going to use, why didn't you put it down to the top? Oh, the reason I knew, you mean the tile? Okay, so I knew this was about 16 inches square, Margaret. And that way I wouldn't have such a short hooping at the bottom. So I just drew a line through the middle so that I could do one hooping above the line and one hooping below. It just kind of broke it up so that there wasn't such a short hooping down here. You could have done it that way. It would work that way too. But this, I think it'd be easier for hooping if I don't have to hoop so much more at the bottom. So I just kind of spread it towards the top and the bottom. Okay. All right. So now I am going to bring this over here. So let me move my camera. And we're going to get our next design. So this is going to be, let's see, which one do we want to use for this one? Let's use a different one. And let's do PES. And let's see, how about, let's do the spring one. What does the spring one look like? So clear blue tiles. Now that was the 6 by 10. Oh, this one has a little flower, so that'll be kind of cute. So let's do let's do that one. So this one was 6 by 10. So we're looking for the 6 by 10 design. 4 by 10, 4 by 12. Let's see, 6 by 6, 6 by 8. Here's 6 by 10. So here's a 6 by 10. So I'm going to choose that one. And then I'm going to hit embroidery. Now, when I use magnetic hoops, so I'm going to show you the dime magnetic hoop with this, because this works really, really slick, especially if you have a snowman. I have a harder time getting things straight in these hoops. I'm not as much so since I've got my rulers on them, but I have a little harder time because I can't use a grid in here to get things lined up. So I use these mostly with my snowman. So I'm just going to put in the bottom part of the hoop like this. And I just leave this in the machine. I don't take it out. And then I'm going to take my little piece of fabric here. And then that first design that we marked is like right here. And I'm going to take my snowman. I love my snowman. Can you use these with edge-to-edge designs? These are edge-to-edge designs, Melody, but they're made specifically for the clear blue tiles. The edge-to-edge in the embroidery machine by Amelie Scott Designs, those are totally different kinds of designs than these are. So these tiles are made to be used with these designs, with Kimberbell's designs, and there's tons of them. Okay, so I'm going to take my snowman, and you know that little mark we made right here, I'm going to line my snowman up on that mark. And the little polka dot of his body is going to lay right on the little middle polka dot. I'm just going to get him all pushed down on there. And then I'm going to, we're not going to be able to hoop all the way to the top on this one probably. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to kind of center the snowman under my foot because it helps me to get it organized and get it close to the center. Okay, and I'm not going to be able to quite hoop all the way to the top. And it should be okay because it's pretty close. And then I'm going to lay this hoop down, push it over, and just let it drop. Now, there are some pins under here. So anytime there's pins, you don't want any pins underneath your magnetic hoop. So I got to get some of these pins out of here. Okay. Yeah, the magnetic hoops do not like the pins under them because then they don't stick as well. So I'm going to get rid of some of these pins. And then you want to make sure that everything's lined up. And it doesn't have to be perfect over the dot, but it is close. You want to get it kind of close because then you know you're going to line up fine. Okay, get these out. Watch our time here because this is the last little sample. This is so fun. I love to do the overall quilting like this. And these actually made it very quick. And I do use my snowman almost all the time when I do this. Okay, so I got it kind of in there. And you can see it may not be perfectly straight in the hoop, which is okay because guess what? The machine's going to line it up for me. Okay, and that's why I went up a hoop size. Because if I got it really wonky in there, there's room enough for it to turn the design a little bit. So I'm going to use my snowman. For those of you, and these go all the way back to the Quattro. So a lot of you will have a snowman feature on your machine. I'm going to go to layout on mine or edit, depending on the machine you have. I'm going to hit the little snowman guy. If you have a Stellaire, Altair, Meridian, you can still use your snowman just like this, but you'd be using your app. And I'll show that on a class coming up later. We'll talk about that. But you do have to use your regular hoops then, because you have to have those special hoops with the little registration marks on. Okay. So I'm going to click second here. Sorry. Start that again. Okay. Have to hit OK. Then I'm going to tell it I want it to center on the center of it. And I'm going to click scan and OK. So what it's going to do is it's going to scan in the hoop here. Got my little sandwich, so there's fabric on the back. I had to put a little bit of batting on the outside edge of mine because my backing was a little short. I was using scraps for this, so okay. So it's lining up. Oh, found the snowman. It's lining it up. Okay, now it says remove the embroidery positioning mark. Okay, I'm going to take this off. And I have zigzagged up here because now I don't have to worry about it catching up here because it's going to sew off the top. Oops, except I need to get the pin out of here. There we go. Remember, I had the top marked. And now it's going to do this overall design. Now I am going to watch it when it's going over the edges. And this is the spring one, so it has kind of a neat swirl and it has a little flower on it. So it's going to go up and over. And you can see where it's sewing on the screen, so you can kind of know. So, and I could have stopped it and like fast forwarded through some of this over the batting, but you know, with it stitched down like this, oh my gosh, then I can actually just let it run and I don't have to worry. So it's going to do this. This one has about 3,500 stitches in it, roughly. But this is so cool to be able to quilt like this. I'm just really enjoying these. And like I said, I was a little resistant at first because I have other ways that I've learned to quilt. But oh my gosh, what a quick way to, especially for the overall pattern. I can just mark everything. And normally I'm going to use the same size tile for the whole thing. And then I can just do my minimal marking and use my snowman. And what a deal. Then I can quilt it up and it's so easy. So it's going around and still working up at the top here. So when it gets down on the fabric, it'll look better. Sorry, guys. I knew it was going to start at the top. And then it'll move down to about right here when it finishes. And this takes about 5 minutes to sew out. So. Then I can show you how to do the next hooping and get it started, and then we can say goodbye while it's sewing. But this was so much fun. I had a lot of fun working with the pens, you know, trying to figure out, oh, here's my blue pen. I really like the blue. Here's my blue pen. The black worked well. I had a little trouble seeing the red on the pink. So it's, now this is again my Pima cotton thread. So you can quilt with anything. You can quilt with your embroidery thread. I like to have matching thread in the back. So when I did, you know, like this one had a black backing on it. You know, this has got a black backing, but look at the pretty white thread on it. Isn't it pretty? I love the cats even got an old project done using. Oh yeah. Yeah, aren't these? Oh yeah, because they have a cat one, don't they? That's one of the other ones they had pulling. So yeah, so here's my winter one. Do tiles come with any designs? Yes. So Marcia, these tiles, we'll talk about that while this is stitching, okay? This is the Clear Blue Tiles set. So maybe you weren't here when you saw the whole thing. The Clear Blue Tiles, you get this whole set. This is the essential set, and it comes with this USB, and it has the whole set of winter, spring, swirls, fall, summer, and loops. And then it has these little small borders, and then it has loops and border swirls. So yes, so you get all of the designs. There's 372 design files on here that come with the set. So you get the set with all the tiles, and this is the essentials. So these are up to a 6x10 hoop. You get the designs, the slap bands to help you if you have a big, heavier quilt in here. And then you get the marking pens, and these are the ones that I don't care for too much. So I've been using these heat ones that I showed you. And then you get the instruction booklet. Okay. Now, Marcia, you have a big enough machine that you could use the expansion pack. These do not have, the expansion pack is for the big hoops. This does not have any designs. It's just the larger templates. So it's just about done. I think it's got a little bit maybe over here yet to do. And they don't really start and stop like on an end or anything. They kind of start and stop in the middle somewhere. There we go. And I also wanted to tell everybody, to remind everybody that we have a Kimberbell event coming up next month. And it's in June 25th. And we're doing day at the fair. So that'll be a one-day event. And it's either in the store, either store, or online. Okay, so it kind of stopped in the middle here, see? Okay. So now when I work with these magnetic hoops, this works real slick. See, I'm just going to pick this up, drop it over my machine up here. I'm going to slide this up, and I got to find my mark for the next one. The next one is right here. Take my snowman, put it onto my mark. Got to make sure I got it in the center. Whoops, got this one kind of cockeyed here, so let's see. Make sure I got the little dot in the right place. Okay. There's that one, and I'll take out a couple more of these pins. Okay, and then I can drop this back down, and I'm going to pull this up so that it's roughly in the center of my snowman. Okay, and about there, and then I'm going to drop my hoop down. Okay, not quite centered, but the machine will center it up, so you want to be relatively close. So it could come this way just a little bit. There we go. Okay. Make sure there's no pins under my hoop. These don't like to be underneath here very well. So, okay. But do make sure your hoop is all square on the edges. Okay. And I'm going to use the same size, but this time it's going to go down towards the bottom. I'm going to make sure everything's nice and attached here. Okay. I love the dime magnetic hoops. Oh, yeah. So this is awesome. This one is the 8x12. I have a 6x10, and I could have used that one too, but I didn't want to take the chance of me being wonky and not being able to get it lined up for you. So I like to go up a hoop size. So I'm going to hit my snowman again and tell it to center in the center. Scan. Okay. And it's going to think. And it's going to find, whoops, better get that other pin out of there. It's going to find my snowman. Hopefully, sometimes if you stick your fingers in there, it doesn't like it. Oh, it didn't like it. I stuck my hand in there. I'll try it one more time. It'll be find it. Sometimes if I stick my hands in there, it doesn't like it. It gets mad at me. So it'll line it all up, and then it'll be ready for the next hooping. But these dime hoops work really, really great. And I can use them with the smaller ones and hoop it more traditionally, but I have a little more trouble getting things lined up. Okay. I think my problem is it doesn't like, sometimes I have bad light when I scan and it gets mad and it doesn't find the snowman. I just try it again. Sometimes it just finds it the next time. It's thinking. Oh, I think it's going to find it this time. And sometimes I've even had to take my design out. Like this one, I think I just need to take the design out and bring it in. I don't know why it does that, but it's something I've learned with the snowmen, that sometimes my designs just need to be reset again. So we'll just bring in the spring one, and it was the 6x10, right? 6x10. I'll go find that one again. Just bring it back in. Sometimes if I've done it a couple times, it doesn't like to find it the second time. Embroidery, let's try it again. Layout. Okay. Let's see if it'll find it this time after taking it out. But I think Tim, I hear Tim out here. So Tim, we're just lining up the last hooping. If you want to come talk while I'm doing this, hopefully it was being cantankerous. But please, all of the tiles, the essential set and the Clear Blue Tile set are on the website, and the Yep, and our affiliate link is on the Facebook page so that you can buy more designs. There's a bunch that come with it, but all the other designs that they have will work with these as well. But for some reason, like I said, I don't have very good light. I think it's not liking the light. So it's not finding the snowman for me this afternoon. Okay, so I'm going to flip this over and have Tim finish, and I'll see if I can get this going, and I'll put a picture of the finished result, okay? Once I get it to find my snowman. But light makes a difference when you're using the snowman. It really does. Just a second here, Tim. I got to get you on the other microphone. I can hear you. There you go.
All right. So once again, thanks for joining us this Wednesday on Shields Live. Reminder, if you didn't get our emails or Facebook, we will be closed this Saturday as well as Monday for the Memorial Day holiday. So just so we can all take some time off and spend it with our families. And again, like, comment, share. We're going to do maybe a drawing next week. So everybody, if you do all those three things, we'll put you in a drawing. And we'll do some more giveaways. So again, thanks for joining us. Enjoy the long holiday weekend. Be safe, and we'll see you next week.
Yay.
All right. Thank you.
Have a good day.